Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Chris, the podcast. I am Matthew Farromby, and I'm here with my dad.
Sonny Farromby, welcome.
And I thought we'd start off on a kind of lighter note with some would you rathers. I don't know if you've ever done would you rathers before.
Oh, would you rather do this or that?
Yeah, basically this or that.
Okay.
So the first one is pretty simple. It says, would you rather be king or queen of the UK or president of the USA? I think that's an easy one for me, at least.
King or queen of the UK? Well,
I'd rather be king.
really? Why?
Because you don't have to do anything. They're just a figurehead. They don't make decisions. They get paid. They just live their life. They're basically just a celebrity that gets paid. President, you just like, it's not like you're making that much money.
Yeah.
And then you have the pressure to make all these decisions, and then politics, and then whether you do the right thing or not, you're going to be scrutinized and all this stuff.
Yeah. I think the president of the United States makes, remember it was $400,000 a year.
Mm.
So, many of them are rich before they become
They probably make more than that before they even become president.
Yeah, before they become president. But you're right. The royal family, the king or the queen of England, I think when they even become king or queen, there's a lot of things that also comes to them. But it's interesting that you say that it's because they don't do anything. You'd rather be that.
They don't.
I kind of agree. Yeah. But what I'm trying to say is that for me, it's actually for the same reason. I'm thinking they're just a figurehead. They're not doing anything. So why would I want to be that?
Yeah, because then you can do what you want. If you're the president, you can't do what you want. You have to make all these decisions.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
Plus, I saw somewhere that the amount of money that they get paid is like insane just to be like in the royal family. I don't know about the king or queen specifically, but I've heard about some of the princes or some of the people who are like even just connected to royal family make a lot of money. Just
it's something you are born into, so it's not something that you can acquire. All right.
Yeah.
What's the next one?
Next one is, would you rather have only forks or only have spoons?
Forks or spoons? Well, that one is easy for me. You can do a lot of things with spoons that you cannot do with a fork. And I'm sure you know this. When back in Nigeria, the most common utensil that we use is a spoon. We use spoon to eat everything. It's rice, whatever it is. You can eat it to eat rice, to eat soup. And even here, if you want to eat a soup, you need a spoon. So you cannot use a fork for that. So definitely, I think the spoon is much more multi-purpose compared to the fork. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only reason I'd go with spoons is because you can't eat soup with a fork. There's a lot of things you can't do with forks. But if it was the regular day-to-day life, having the option for both, I'd usually choose fork. But I can only choose one.
A lot of things. You can't eat chili, I think. Well, maybe a little bit.
Well, but it's just not the liquid part.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
definitely that one is easy.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next one is, would you rather have an abnormally big toe or abnormally big ear? This I think is also an easy one for me.
Why is it easy? What do you think?
Because it's a toe. No one usually sees your toes. So I'd rather have that bigger. Yeah, you probably have to get a bigger shoe size or something. But it's not something people see. But if you're saying abnormally big, that's something like, I don't know. It doesn't say how big, but people are going to immediately notice when they see.
So now that's exactly the reason why I was taking it. It depends. It depends on you, on the individual. Mm-hmm. So if you are concerned about how you look, if you are concerned about how you look and you don't want to look like, I don't know, rabbit ears or something, then definitely you go with a big toe. Even if you have a big shoe, and maybe not a lot of people will easily notice that, but big ears, they can see you from a mile away. So I guess that.
And again, it doesn't say how big, but I'm guessing it's big enough that it's noticeable. So,
but for me, apart from that, since honestly I don't care about how I look, I'll probably go for the ears because I'm thinking with big ears I can probably pick up things easy. I can
hear?
I'm thinking that's what big ears mean. That I will hear better, farther. People are whispering like.
It's not like you have super hearing. I mean, yeah, your hearing will go like up a little bit, but I don't think you'll be like a superhero or anything.
Yeah. Well, maybe not. I mean, they don't have the kind of the Vulcan hearing they call it or something. But I'm thinking I can hear farther. Whispers from next house or something.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's
maybe
like
not.
that. But.
Okay,
this one, I think it's kind of an easy one for both of us, but also when you think about it, it could be, it says, would you rather only ever eat spicy food for the rest of your life or never be able to eat spicy food again?
That one's easy. Yeah, I'm sure you know it's easy.
Yeah.
I would rather eat spicy. I love all my foods to be spicy anyway.
And that was my same like first response initially, but then I think about like, does that mean everything you have? So that means dessert. Like if you wanted to have dessert, does that mean you have to only eat spicy food?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want my dessert to be spicy. Like what?
If you are eating spicy food all the time, you get used to it. That's the thing.
Yeah, but
even spicy ice cream, you get used to it. Spicy cake, you get used to it.
Right.
You know.
But yeah, but still it's still tough because it's still those things are not necessarily supposed to be spicy. So
they are not supposed to be spicy, but it's because we are not used to them being spicy. So if you like spicy food, after a while, guess what? You'll be.
I think you just want to eat dessert anymore. I don't think if you ate spicy cake, you want more after a while.
Well, I think that's for people who maybe do not like spicy food. Mm-hmm. If you like spicy food, yes. In fact, okay, what if all of those foods, the desserts you're talking about, what if right from the beginning of time, they've always been spicy?
So, I mean, that's just the opposite then. So, that switches the question. So then it'd be like, you'd only be able to eat those.
No, what I mean is that if they've always been spicy, we will already be used to them now being spicy. We will not see anything wrong with them being
so
spicy.
I mean, that's what I'm saying is that the question will be switched. So if you never be able to eat spicy again, that would assume that you wouldn't eat desserts because since they're, in your case, since you're saying that they're normally spicy, that it switches it, I guess.
But I think for this one, I think most people, maybe most Americans will say yes. Definitely, they would rather not eat spicy stuff. But I think for me, I don't mind. I don't mind everything I eat being spicy. Once again, I grew up in a culture where most of our foods, virtually all of our foods are spicy, except maybe a handful. I'm not dessert.
But also, I'm thinking about things like bread too. Like,
yeah,
that's the thing. It's like if it was like everything had to be spicy, I might have to choose not be able to eat spicy because there's more things that you eat that you can get away with not. It's like, okay, it's gonna taste more bland to you, but it's still fine than everything always being spicy, I think.
Well, you are talking about bread. Bread actually. It will not be unusual for me if it's spicy because, yes, maybe the way you normally eat bread, but usually, once again, in Nigeria, we eat bread with stew. Yeah. And usually the stew is spicy. Mm-hmm. So by the time you are tasting the bread, you are tasting
that's if you're eating it with that. But what if you're just eating toast with butter or something? It automatically be spicy. So.
Yeah, actually, I think it would be better that it's spicy. For me, I think I will. Well, that's just me. I don't mind spicy bread.
I don't know. I think if it eliminates everything that's not normally spicy, I'd probably just go with not being able to eat spicy because you can eat more.
I don't mind spicy ice cream and spicy bread. So
yeah. Okay, so the next one is: would you rather have super slow internet or low phone battery?
That's a tough one. What would yours be?
I'd probably think low for phone battery. I don't really care about my phone, but if my internet is slow, it's just frustrating. But if my phone dies, I can still use my computer. I still have my iPad. I still have other things.
No. I think this question implies that that's your only access to the internet.
Well, if it's that, then
yeah, because you don't have anything to fall back on to
I still think I'd probably take it. I'd rather have my internet be fast for a short period of time than it be slow.
Not have it at all.
Yes.
So you rather not have it at all?
No, it's not. It's saying not at all. It says low phone battery. So when it dies, you can.
No, that's what I mean. Once it dies, once your phone dies, your internet is gone.
You can buy a new phone.
No, that's not an option either. I think the premise of the question is you have low phone battery, so you can use it, and then it dies. You don't have access to internet anymore. For that reason, I would prefer low internet speed because, yes, it's frustrating to wait for things to load, but at least I can wait for it than the battery dies and you don't have it at all.
I guess, but it depends on the household. It says super slow internet. So if it's slow enough where you can't even... Because at that point, you can't stream anything. You can't. You can. The only thing you can look up is like an article, and that'll probably take like 20 minutes to load.
Well, I think one of the things. Your generation, you guys are used to fast internet. I started using internet when everything was slow. No, really. When it's dial-up modem that we used to connect, and there was no streaming. We couldn't, there was not even streaming services. But even then, email to send an email would take you do that email and send it. It takes like a couple of minutes before it goes. Yeah.
But then you weren't needing to load that much. Like lots of things didn't really have images. It was usually just text.
Yes. There are no images. There are no streaming.
Yes, but now any website you want to load is gonna take I don't know
a long time. Yes.
Before it loads. Yes. But if it's you can't have access to the internet at all afterwards, then I guess I'll just do slow.
Yeah.
But
all right.
The next one is: would you rather be 3 feet tall or 8 feet tall?
That one is easy too. I don't know. I would rather be. I don't. 8 feet is too much. But if I have to take that, if the other option is 3 feet, I would rather go 8 feet.
Yeah, I think I'd rather go 8 feet, but at the same time, if you're flying, you'll have to get first class. You would not be able to sit in economy if you're 8 feet.
Then I don't fly.
Well, I guess
you don't fly. You drive. I'm sure you can get a vehicle that has enough leg room that you can drive. Yes, you have to drive to places. That means you are limited to where you can go. You cannot go overseas. Something like that. Yeah, but
at the same time, if you're 3 feet tall,
then you can fit into any place.
I don't even know if you can. Can you drive if you're 3 feet? Can the cars even get that close?
You can't drive. You can't drive because you won't be able to see over the dashboard.
Yeah, exactly.
And your feet, your legs will not be long enough to reach the pedals.
Yeah.
So definitely, I think. The cons against 3 feet is way much more than the ones against.
You will stand out everywhere you go, though, but that's fine, I guess.
Yeah. You stand out either way, whether it's 3 feet or 8 feet.
Well, I mean, if you're 3 feet, people might not see you. If you're in a crowd.
Well, then they can trample on you easily.
Well, yeah, but if you're 8 feet, if you're in a crowd, everyone is going to see you.
Everyone will see you, yeah.
So, okay, so the last one is something that you might have to think about a bit more. It says, would you rather have a terrible boss but a great job, or a great boss but a terrible job?
Actually, that's not that difficult to me.
I guess, I don't know.
Here is the thing. You would rather have a great, what's the first one?
Is terrible boss, great job, or great boss, terrible job?
Terrible boss, great job. Here's the way I say it. If you have a terrible boss, no matter how great the job is, it's terrible. Yeah. It's going to be terrible. That's what I mean by it's not that difficult, because it doesn't matter what the job is you may like. If the environment created by your boss is a terrible one, you are not going to be happy. Now, if you have a great boss, no matter how terrible or how bad you don't like the actual physical activity you do for job, you still want to go to work. You still, because of the environment. Right. I think we shared in one of our previous episodes, and I don't remember if it was the last one or the one before the last, that the Mayo Clinic said that your supervisor, your boss, is much more important to your health than your family doctor. So overall, the people you spend the most time with at work, I think they are much more important than actually what you do for job.
And I think you've said it before. That's like people don't even leave their jobs; they usually leave their bosses or whoever
they work for. People don't leave their jobs. They don't leave the organizations or leave their jobs. They leave their bosses. They leave the manager that they are working for. So, yeah. And that was an easy one, at least for me.
Yeah. I think when you think about it, because like you put it, no matter how good the job is, a terrible boss will make
your life
worse,
miserable.
So.
Make your life miserable. So.
Okay, so I guess we can hop into the main thing we wanted to talk about.
Okay, so what do you want to talk about today?
So I just wanted to talk about introverts versus extroverts, and then just kind of how we fall into that, and how I think there's a lot of middle ground with things like that.
It's very interesting. You share that, and when you the moment you said that, here's what comes to mind for me. I talk about this a lot when I do the emotional intelligence seminar, and the first thing I always share in that class is that for a long time, for a very very long time, I used to think extroverts were just annoying people who like to talk too much. That was my thought. That was what I thought for a while. And that was because of my perception of what extroversion was, which I later found out was completely incorrect. I just thought people who talk a lot are extroverts. And the thing is that research has borne out that how more or less you talk is not an indication of introversion or extroversion. It's something else, right?
Yeah, and I think it can be in certain situations, but it's definitely like, I think I had a friend who he asked me one time, he's like, "Are you an introvert or extrovert?" I was like, "I thought you'd know," but I guess in the situations I've interacted with him, he's always seen me maybe around people I'm like more comfortable with. So he's only seen the extrovert side. So when I said, "Well, I'm an introvert," of course, he's like, "Really?" And he was actually like surprised by that. Just because, again, like the scenarios he's seen is like just situations where I've been more in my comfort zone. I've been around people I've known for a long time. So that side is definitely where I lean towards in those situations.
And that's the thing. That's the thing about, it goes back to what I just said about thinking that extroverts talk a lot, because that's the perception most people have. So when they always see you in an environment where you're more comfortable, you speak easily with people, a lot of people tend to think you are an extrovert, when really, being able to speak freely or easily with people is not really a measure of introversion or extroversion. Going from the example you shared, I remember years ago also when I was still very active in Toastmasters. I also had somebody who didn't know me that person at that time has known me for about maybe 3-4 years, but most of those years has been in Toastmaster. In fact, almost every time we interact, it's in Toastmaster environment where, as a leader, and this was the year actually I was a district director, so I was in visible leadership position doing a lot of extroverted things. And one day it was so funny. I think she was giving a speech, and she is an introvert. She recognized that she's an introvert, and she just made an offhand comment during her speech, like, she said something like, unlike Sonny, who is an extrovert, people like us. And I was surprised. I thought, okay, so this person thought I am an extrovert, and I am not an extrovert. I am, and at least I recognize, or I identify more as an introvert. But over the years, that has changed. That I'm now kind of more in the middle. But if you look at it, if you look at the attributes of extroversion and introversion, you see that extroverts, they tend to they tend to focus on people and the environment around them. They tend to process information by talking it through. That's what I learned, and that's one of the reasons why many of us think, well, at least me, why I thought early years ago that extroverts talk a lot,
right?
Because they tend to process information by talking it through. You know, the kind of thinking that introverts do in their heads, where you think through things before you make a decision and speak it out. Yeah. Extroverts tend to do that by actually talking it out loud. So they kind of think out aloud. So I think that's one of the differences. And because of that also they tend to prefer to communicate information by talking. Right. So if you have an extrovert colleague, they will rather, walk to your office or walk to your cubicle and talk to you instead of send you a text or send you an email or something like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, I definitely think it's unlike. I think nowadays people realize that, but it's more of a spectrum for sure. Because I think before people used to think you're either one side or you're the other, but it's definitely like one is the situation, what situation you're in, but it's also just how you recharge too. So.
Yes, well, actually, that is it's a good point that you brought that up. That is actually the true test of introversion or extroversion. Is how you recharge. It's how you recharge. Introverts recharge by being alone. They want to spend time alone. They want to spend time in self-reflection. That means when they are tired, they want to recharge. They want solitude. They want that time alone. Extroverts, on the other hand, they recharge from their environment. They get their energy from the environment, which is kind of strange. It's at least to people like you and I that are introverts, because it doesn't, even now, even though I know that now, it still doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
Because, well, first of all, we said earlier that my incorrect notion that extroverts talk a lot, but one of the attributes of introversion also, well, maybe not an attribute, an introvert will talk a lot if the topic is of interest to them. And if they're in an environment like we shared before, even a comfortable environment with people that they know, or if the topic they are passionate about the topic, right. Yeah, they will not keep quiet. So, for example, I identify as an introvert, but when I speak on topics I'm passionate about, like when I'm talking about leadership or emotional intelligence or the subject of trust and things like that, I can talk all day. As a speaker, as somebody who does seminars and do courses, I do that. I can do that all day. But here's the funny thing. Once I'm done, I usually have a 3-day course on emotional intelligence that I teach. At the end of each day, once I'm done, it's almost as if I have exhausted my word allotment for that day. At the end of the day, I don't want to talk to anybody anymore. I just go back to my hotel room for maybe an hour or so, just to recharge. And that's what introverts do. Introverts, when they are tired, they want to recharge their batteries. They want solitude. Now, here's what I meant when I was saying this doesn't make sense to people like introverts like me. An extrovert would do the same thing, maybe teach a class or do something, talk all day like I did. But at the end of the day, when they want to recharge, what do you think they do? They go find more people to talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's actually how they recharge. So for them, being around people to recharge is different from when they are dishing out energy talking all day. So that's, once again, what my introverted mind could not really comprehend very well. I understand that's who they are, but it just doesn't compute. But you were saying earlier that it's kind of a spectrum, and it's true. It's true. There's no one, at least research has shown that really no one is 100% extrovert or 100% introvert. We all fall somewhere on the spectrum. Yes, we can go very close to either end, that people may not see even glimpses of the other one in us at all. But they said, according to research, that no one is 100% one or the other. So it depends, but we are close to one end or the other. But you can see a difference when people begin to move to the middle.
Right.
Move to the middle, and people can become what we call situational. So you can be a situational introvert or situational extrovert, like I think you were saying earlier, like the environment.
Yeah.
If you're an introvert and the environment is conducive for you to behave like an extrovert, you can behave like an extrovert.
Right.
So people in that environment who didn't know you, they could wrongly conclude easily that you are an extrovert. And the same thing, if you're an extrovert, you want to learn to become situational. So in instances when the situation demands it, you behave like an introvert.
Yeah. I think you kind of mentioned it before. I think for introverts, we all have some sort of a social battery in a sense that if we're constantly interacting with people, that we get to a point where it's like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah,
I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I still remember, because even I was definitely more of an introvert before college, and then after college, I leaned more towards the extrovert side. But I still remember, I think it was like senior year, because I remember a lot of my friends were starting to graduate, so I hadn't been hanging out around people as much as I was the first few years. I still remember, I think it was like a couple of weeks had gone by, and obviously I'd gone to classes and stuff, but I hadn't really hung out with people in a while. And then I was like, this is weird, but I kind of feel like I want to be around people. And for me, it was like, I don't think I'd ever felt like that. 'Cause I was like, normally be by myself, I'm just fine, like always. And even nowadays, for the most part, I'm fine. But that was like the first time I was like, I guess I know how extroverts feel. Was like, I want to be around people.
Yeah.
So it was just a weird to see that side of things.
Well, that's why some people talk about some people being ambiverts. And I don't know if I will. Maybe there are people who are ambiverts, and I think maybe we can. And I don't know. This is not born out of any research that I know of, but at least from my own personal experience, I know I have definitely moved away from being very close to introversion to being more in the middle. Now, I know, but no, personality really doesn't change. I am still an introvert. I'm still an introvert. I still like solitude. I still want alone time to be able to recharge. But these days I find myself also being very comfortable talking to people. In fact, I love meeting people now. I love meeting people. In my younger years, that was not me.
Yeah.
That was not me. I would rather stay alone than talk to anyone or engage with people. But these days, I love meeting people. I love meeting people I've not met before. I love hearing their stories. I love learning about what makes them tick and things like that. And definitely, I think in my journey, in my career, in my journey of leadership, developing leadership skills, growing in the leadership area, I think that has helped me, practicing all of that and being forced in situations where I have to engage with people. Right. Anyway, I think maybe helped me to get out of my shell and to begin to connect better with people. But like you said, personally, I still need that time to just be alone and to be able to recharge my batteries. I don't get tired, and that's the funny thing these days. I don't think I get tired if I interact with people for a long time. I don't get tired of it. And it doesn't look like I get tired if I spend a long time alone by myself too. So it looks like I just flow with whatever situation it is, and I'm comfortable either way.
Yeah, and I think thinking about it now, for introverts at least, that social aspect is almost like a muscle that, like, the more you're forced into situations or the more you exercise that side of you, the better at it, I guess, in a sense you get. Like you said, like how like being forced into situations initially is what helped. And even in college, like whether you like it or not, a lot of times you either have a roommate or you're around people all the time, whether you like it or not. And then eventually you get used to certain situations. So I think for introverts sometimes, and maybe extroverts on the vice versa too, I don't know. it can be something that the more you exercise that side, the more better, or the more you lean towards the other side, I guess, too.
The more you exercise it, the more, it's practice. No, you do something that's not comfortable, but you for whatever reason, you are being forced to do it continually. After a while, you kind of, you lean towards it, you get used to it, and before you know it, you are comfortable with it. It's not as strange as it was at the beginning when you were first getting into it. So I think those are the kind of things, that happens. But for me, once again, especially with what I do today as a speaker and a coach, I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy hearing their stories, and it's I enjoy it. I like it.
Yeah, and you brought up ambiverts, which is what I have as like the last part of this, and I haven't looked up the actual like standard definition for it, because I don't know if it means you're equally half and half, or if it means, because again we say like it's more of a spectrum, so I guess it could mean you're an introvert, but you are also can be an extrovert in certain situations, or it could mean vice versa. Maybe you're an extrovert, but you have introvert tendencies in certain situations. So I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I don't know possible. I don't know if you can say it's half and half.
Yeah,
I think it may once again in my mind, I would think it's just what I call situational, being comfortable in the situation. I think at the beginning, it's, at least for me, I'm trying to reflect back on my own journey from being a very strong introvert to somewhere now in the middle. I think at the beginning there was conscious effort on my part to say, okay, I want to be intentionally, I want to be intentional about being a situational extrovert. So when I'm in a situation in meeting that I need to speak up, I speak up. There are times, early in my career that I will not speak up in meetings. Even if I have something to say, I would think I don't know if I need to say something, especially if somebody already said something. Why do I need to repeat it or to support what they're saying? So things like that. But as time moved on, I realized that situation, whatever situation is, I can easily adapt to it. Maybe that's what an ambivert is. I just checked while you were speaking about what an ambivert is, and the Oxford English Dictionary says an ambivert is a person whose personality has a balance of extrovert and introvert features. So it's a balance of both. I don't know if that means 50-50. I don't know if it is. But here's another funny thing, which, well, it's not really funny. It goes back to what we said earlier, that no one is 100% extrovert or 100% introvert. Most of us fall somewhere in between, no matter how strong. But also, as I did research, they actually say most people are ambiverts. They said about 60 to 75% of the population could be defined as ambiverts, because, once again, most people don't fit into the extremes. Right. We fit somewhere in the middle. Yes, we can lean more towards one or the end. If you look at it at a spectrum of maybe 0, 0, well,
could be 100, and then 0 in the middle.
Probably. Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's a better way of doing it. That's the engineering you. So introvert, extroverts, 100 on both ends and 0 in the middle. So no one, you can say no one is 100, but is it from 75 in and 75 in here? Right. Will you say that's ambivert, or will you say it's 95 in, 95 in, or 90 right. in, 90 in? Where do you define the ambivert? That is not, they are not telling us that.
Right.
But they're telling us that 60 to 75% of the population tends to be ambivert.
Yeah. And that still goes to like almost how you define it too, because that would just mean everyone's ambivert.
Yeah.
Because like even if you're 99, you probably still have that one that's like whether you're around your family or something that you talk a lot. But I think it also, we talked about, it still goes back to how you recharge, I think, still too.
I think it is.
You always lean more towards one side depending on that, and then maybe a couple other things as well too. So
no, I think I agree. So you can be an ambivert, but I think the true definition of introversion and extroversion is how you recharge. Now, for me, I know definitely, even though I'm very comfortable, engaging with people, talking with people, I can talk with people all day. I won't easily get tired. But when I want to recharge, more often than not, I want solitude. I want quiet time of reflection on my own. So that still goes to the fact that even though my behaviors reflect ambiversion, I'm still an introvert at heart. So.
Right. Oh, was there anything else you wanted to bring up regarding that?
No, I don't think so. The only thing that comes to mind once we're talking about introverts and extroverts, I think I shared earlier some of the attributes of extroverts. I don't think I got to the attributes of introverts. And a few of those is that introverts tend to focus on the inner world. They tend to want to think before they speak. Unlike extroverts, like we said, they think out aloud. They process information by talking it through. That's extroverts. Introverts want to think before they speak or before they act, and because of that, because of their tendency to reflect forth before they think, most of the time when they respond, their responses are usually well thought out. It's well thought out when they think, and that's another reason why many introverts tend to prefer work that is head focused, that involves a lot of thinking. So you find a lot of people in STEM, for example, tending to be introverts. There are a few extroverts, but majority, I think, tend to be introverts. But here's the funny thing that I've learned about another thing about introverts and extroverts. Because extroverts talk a lot, like you said, they talk through their thinking. We tend to perceive them as not being good listeners, because they are always talking, but that's their thinking process. And when we don't understand that, we think they are just bad listeners. They like to talk, they're not listening. Right. Which may not be the case. That's one. On the other hand, because introverts tend to think before they speak or before they act, we tend to think of them as good listeners, that they are better listeners. But guess what? They may not be listening to you, really.
Right.
They may actually be just thinking and processing whatever the information is, and they are ignoring you with whatever you are saying, and you think they are listening to you. They may not be listening to you. Right. So that's another thing I found out about introversion and extroversion. We may think extroverts are bad listeners because of their tendency to think out aloud, and we may think, and that may not be correct completely, and we may think introverts are good listeners because of their tendency to think before they respond, and that also may not be completely true.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all we wanted to talk about. I think it's between introverts and extroverts is all based about adjusting to whichever situation you find yourself in, I think. So, well, guys, this has been another episode of Crisp, the podcast. As always, give us a like on YouTube, rate us on Spotify and Apple Music, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.